It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening, whenever you're watching. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on St. Simons Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. And to hang out with my man Sal, too, but hey, that's besides the point. Go there. Or B Square. Oh, geez, I don't know. We're going to have another big event down there, so you got to stay tuned for that. And today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to the show. All you got to do is go to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. This guy deserves more recognition than he gets, even in the Hall of Fames. Yeah, because they got it wrong too. 7 years of research on this guy produces a 150-page book. Read it. You'll love it. I'm telling you. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. Get it now. We're going to get a signed copy. Just go to the website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book. If you want more than one copy, just drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. All right, we got some stuff to talk about. We're going to break down some of the fights, the bigger fights this weekend. I think Dax Kahn is scheduled to join us a little bit later. The big news, I got a couple of things to talk about. First and foremost, Manny Pacquiao has announced his return to the ring, but he's not getting any endorsements from his promoter. As far as I know, I think Bob Arum and Top Rank are still his promoter. We'll get to that a little bit later. And he's also announced an opponent and everything, in Lucas Matisse. So we'll see what happens. Also, I want to take a look at the heavyweight division. Several of the major sanctioning bodies have released all their updated rankings. So I got the top 15 heavyweights in the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO. And, I just want to take a look at that and, honestly see what the powers that be could try to cram down our throats instead of Deontay Wilder fighting Anthony Joshua, assuming Anthony Joshua gets past Joseph Parker in a couple of weeks. So we'll look at that. But first, I want to open up and hopefully close on this whole issue with Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs, failed not one but two tests. Now, this was handled under VADA, not to be confused with WADA, W instead of V. I got an email from my man Mitch. Mitch is a pretty knowledgeable guy, and he's got some contacts around the sport that are pretty good. And most of the time when he says something and keeps me up to date on something, it's true. He's got some interesting facts here. He sent me an email. Now, I have a bunch of other emails, but I want to read this one first. He says there's a cyclist named Alberto Contador, who tested positive with 50 picograms of clenbuterol, which is the same stuff that Alvarez claimed tested positive for, and he blamed it on the tainted meat. Well, WADA, W-A-D-A, called it BS and said that 50 picograms was much too high. So when we take a look at Canelo's tests, his results came back in hundreds of picos. So if 50 picograms was too high for WADA, for the bicyclist, the cyclist, how come VADA finds that Canelo, his consumption of it didn't seem to be too high to improve his performance? A representative said that there's an easy way to find out if he's been juicing or not. Get a hair sample. A hair sample tells the true story, including how long it's been in his system. Here's the problem. Canelo won't let them take a hair follicle test. According to my man Mitch, he says, you know why? Because the hair follicles will tell whatever else he's been taking besides clenbuterol. Great point here. You know what my thought is? Triple G. Forget about Canelo. Move on, my man. Move on. This is the best scenario you could ask for. Nobody. Canelo's been calling all the shots. Now the ball is in Triple G's hands. If I'm Triple G, I go and get the last belt that Billy Joe Saunders has. Fight Billy Joe Saunders. Even if you have to move it outside of Vegas. Fight Billy Joe Saunders. Forget Canelo. What does he bring to the table anyway? I would fight, if I'm Triple G, I would fight Billy Joe Saunders. Or if you can't make that fight, give Daniel Jacobs a rematch. Joining me right now from St. Simon's Island is my man, Sal Rocky Sanicola. What's your thoughts, Sal?
You know, Billy, I'll tell you, I've been following this too. And you know, there's more meat on the bone every day when it comes to this with this allegation with Canelo Alvarez. And to have the measures exceed just on a mild note. Come on, don't go on my leg and tell me it's rain. You know, I'll tell you what, this is bad. This is really bad because it really taints the whole picture of Canelo Alvarez if it all pans out to be true. And right now, I'll tell you what, this is more than just eating a hamburger that some cow grazed in a field or was pumped with steroids because they wanted to make him big and strong.
No, let me listen. You know, it's hard, and I used the analogy yesterday about Antonio Margarito. You know, it was really hard for us to all of a sudden say, okay, you know, Antonio Margarito was putting cement in his gloves just for the Shane Mosley fight, and most of us assume that, especially when you look at some of the previous fights, the hellacious beatings he dished out, specifically to Miguel Cotto. And it certainly looked like there was something going on. Talk about hands of stone. And everybody, very quickly assumed that he had been cheating for a while. Yeah. The same thing's happening with Canelo right now. A lot of people are starting to think that he's a cheater, he's this, he's that. You know, whether or not that's true, I said this yesterday, Sal, and I believe it. Canelo is really against the wall, specifically with all of the things that we know that he's demanding. He's the face of boxing. He's boxing's biggest star. He gets the A side. He gets to do this. Here's a guy with no belt, really going by all of that fanfare, that publicity, that popularity is a better choice of word. And he ends up getting all of those things in his favor. Now this comes out. If I'm Triple G, I take advantage of this and say, forget it. I'm not fighting a cheater. Who's next? I want the last belt. Let's go to Billy Joe Saunders. That'll not only make Canelo, you really have to come in and give up some concessions at some point. Maybe not now, but down the road. I don't know. I'm thinking Triple G shouldn't go on with this fight, Sal. What do you think?
Well, I saw on ESPN on the screen there. I was reading earlier, and Canelo and Triple G. Triple G actually said that he's concerned about this fight even coming off because of these allegations and everything else. I just don't understand how and why they chose to pick Canelo now. I mean, obviously it was a surprise because had Canelo been doing this as a practice for how many years or fights or whatever, which we don't know, and I can't say. I mean, was this a surprise test? Was this something else that should have been dissipating out of his system in a month from now when they were going to test? I don't know. Was somebody suspicious, calling in the police to check it out? There's so many questions that are answered, but so many more that do arise. And, obviously it just looks like there's more than just eating a cow. So I think, as you suggested, Canelo needs Triple G more than Triple G needs Canelo right now. And, he's going to be looked at as a cheater. And I don't think that's a great picture. I don't think that's what he really wants to be known for. This is a hard one to move away from. You can't slip and slide him and avoid these punches. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think Triple G is the driver in the seat. And I think Canelo needs Triple G more than Triple G needs Canelo.
Well, at this point, you could very well be right. At this point, Triple G, listen, we all know that he wanted to make the big payday, and I don't have a problem with that. But he's still going to get a big payday to fight Billy Joe Saunders. The repercussions for Canelo if Triple G walks away would hurt. I think that even Triple G is in a position right now to say, hey, how much of a check can you write me, Oscar, that's going to make me go ahead with this fight to fight a cheater? And I got news for you, Sal. The way these things work sometimes is even if they find that it was a mistake, people are still going to believe that Canelo's a cheater. I mean, nowadays in this country, you're guilty until you prove innocent. However,
True.
in this case, though, he did test positive. So that's guilt, baby.
I know, and you know what? I'll tell you what should happen. Triple G should move forward, get the fight done, or take the fight. All eyes are going to be on Canelo. All testing programs are going to be on Canelo, and if he has been using and utilizing any PEDs, well, this is like I was saying and suggesting yesterday. Well, now, it's going to be very hard to stay under the radar going into this fight. And if he uses that, and if that's his little false bravado confidence builder, it's not going to be there. So I think Triple G should take the fight, demand the tests at any time they can be given, and let Canelo pay the price, and let them get in the ring, and let's see Triple G dismantle and destroy Canelo Alvarez.
Well, the thing is that you got to make a stand. I think it goes beyond the fight. I think you have to make a stand. I mean, there were a lot of. Floyd Mayweather made this big thing where, he wants to clean, make sure fighters are clean. And many people believe he himself was the guy that was cheating. Being allowed to have IVs, being allowed to use steroids for his girly little weak hands that he's got. And all of those concessions had already been made. The other issue with him is he was always allowed to take the test that didn't report every single finding. And his opponents had to take the other one that reported everything. So I mean, there were some things that he got away with, and the reason why the powers that be justified it is because of the amount of money that everyone was able to make, not just Floyd and his opponents, but all the other people involved. The same could be said with Canelo. That a lot of the powers that be say, well, Canelo is a big draw. He generates a lot of revenue for a lot of different avenues. People, fighters, trainers, matches, the city of Las Vegas, the commission, et cetera, let him slide. But the truth of the matter is I don't think that they should. I think that you have a perfect situation. The sport has a perfect situation here by taking a big name like Canelo and saying, once and for all, we don't give a crap who you are, what your name is. We don't care how big of a draw you are. If you cheat, you don't fight. End of story. End of story. Why make these guys go through these tests, Sal, if you're going to make a mockery of the tests? If you're going through, and Canelo himself, with the statement, I demanded the test, I want clean fighters, and he fails. He fails. It's making a mockery of the tests. You know, the only way you'll prevent fighters from trying to cheat is if you have some kind of, penalty, some kind of repercussions if they're found guilty, if they're caught. And in this case, Canelo was caught. I don't care who he is. Make a statement. Bob Bennett should grow some hairs on his you-know-whats and do something. This guy is a sham. It's a shame that the state of Nevada, specifically the city of Las Vegas, who houses most of the biggest fights we see, is being controlled by a punk in a guy named Bob Bennett who's not willing to stand up and do what's right. I don't know how else to sugarcoat. Not that I just sugarcoated it, but that's the truth, Sal. What do you think?
Bill, I think, you're onto something. And if they want to do something and be a hard line and clean it up, I'm going to tell you this. They've got to do something along the lines of you don't get a second chance. This is it. You want to put some fear of a career on some of these fighters' hearts, in some of these fighters' hearts. No excuses, no holds barred. You get caught with something, I don't care if it's in nasal spray, if it's not supposed to be there, you don't have any excuse. You're out. You're done. You're done in professional boxing. That's it. You go to MMA or whatever else they might do that might be different. I don't know. The bottom line is, yeah, you want to clean it up? Because then you'll see guys paying more attention. You'll see handlers paying more attention. You'll see everybody else. They can't afford to have an excuse. They can't afford to do this. But it's got to be hard lines. It's got to be one and done. You know what? You got caught with this. Oh, it was from this. It was from that. No, it doesn't work. You're done. You're done. That's it. But I don't know if they could do that.
Well, you can't hold some fighters accountable and some not.
No, you can't.
It's not effective.
So it should be one and done. You're done. It's it. Your career's over as a professional fighter. That's it. You want to see it clean up? That's what I'm saying you should do. You're
right. I don't.
No ifs, ands, and buts. No excuses. That's what I'm saying. If there's a trace there, well, I sucked a daisy in the farm field. Oh, please. Well, hey, you're one and done. You're done. You're done. You're done.
You're right. And I tell you what, they adopt that rule, and they do it right now to a guy like Canelo. Nobody would want to get. No one would risk getting caught again. No, the problem, right. the problem now is you get guys that align themselves with some power, meaning money, and everybody closes their eyes. Even the WBC, who Canelo had denounced. Remember when they stripped him of the belt? Canelo says, I don't ever want to fight for a WBC belt, but yet the WBC keeps creating new belts for Canelo that he's happy to fight for. They already supported Canelo. 2 days ago when the reports first came out, the WBC said, we support Canelo. So how this is the Clean Act program that the WBC enacted. They're the ones that came up with it, and they're supporting Canelo. I don't get it. It's BS. If this happened to anybody else, they would immediately do something. But Canelo, because it's the same thing as Mayweather. Mayweather gets caught, they shovel that one under the rug. Canelo gets caught, we better shovel this under the rug. It's the same thing. If Deontay Wilder tested positive after his win on Saturday night against Luis Ortiz, they would crucify him. They would make that fight would already be on the books as a no contest. Oh, yeah. So give me a break. Give me a break. You can't, Deontay Wilder is a heavyweight champion, but he doesn't have the juice. He doesn't, no pun intended, he doesn't have the drawing power of a Canelo or a Mayweather. But make no mistake, if Deontay tested positive, this guy would be banned already. we'd be talking about that. They wouldn't even take. It would be 5 seconds, and the WBC would strip him. The guy's career would go down the toilet. Canelo, they're still investigating. Come on, if it takes this long to investigate the test results of a performance-enhancing drug positive test, what are they really saying, Sal? That they're putting all their ducks in a row and they're trying to get some stuff together, they're trying to fabricate some data that will help the guy? Nah, this whole situation stinks, man. It stinks.
Well, it does. And, you gave me some other fuel for the fire. And if you can't do one and done, you have a choice. You just retire. You're done with professional boxing. Or with the fight at hand, you're going to donate 100% of the proceeds, 100% of your cut goes to either one of the drug rehab places or I don't know. There's going to be more money in pockets lying there. You forfeit your purse. I don't know. You cannot fight. Whatever. No, you're given that ultimatum.
No, I like your other stance. One and done. You test positive. You sign this paper that says we're going to be testing you random. If you fail, you're done.
On any level,
you're done. And
fighter.
And I can't. I'm not buying. And you even said it yesterday or the day before. I'm not buying that a fighter, especially today's fighter, can play dumb. I don't know. My nutritionist told me to eat this, and I ate it. I didn't know it was a steroid. Just like you were using the example of vitamin B12 shots. I don't know. They said it would help me. They would give me more energy. No, you need to know. In today's world of information at our fingertips, if a nutritionist or a trainer says, "Hey, I want you to drink this," you gotta. It's your responsibility to say what's in it. What's in it?
Exactly.
Antonio. Again, I'm going to use Antonio Margarito as an example. This is a guy who his trainer is banned from boxing. Okay, and Antonio Margarito made the claim with a straight face that he had no idea that his hands were getting plaster of Paris put on them. And they show you videos of him looking all around while the guy's taping up his hands. Yeah, I don't know, whatever he puts on there, I don't know. Give me a break. Everybody that I've ever seen get their hands taped, you watch their eyes looking down at the guy doing the taping. Always, it's a normal thing.
Let me tell you, it's so true. And then how. Look at who they banned for life, and we've never seen him in a corner again. Was Panama Lewis after the Luis Resto and the Billy Collins fight?
Well, you know what the funny,
Collins,
you know what the funny,
that?
You know what the funny thing about Panama Lewis is? Panama Lewis is still in the sport of boxing. He's still.
He is. No,
but he's not the way his ban is.
He's a funny guy. I mean, but I'm saying. You won't see him. You will not see him.
You're wrong, and I'll tell you why. I was trying to say, but the deal that he has is that he's not allowed to be 7 rows within 7 rows of the ring.
Wow.
So when he trains a fight, so make no mistake, Panama Lewis has still been in the game. It's just that you don't see him on the camera because he's 7 rows back, and nobody's on the camera 7 rows back. But there are ways they can still let guys in the business, But I agree with your first rule, one and done. And in this particular case, I feel that Triple G should say no to Canelo. Go try to negotiate for the same date against Billy Joe Saunders, or if he's not willing, because we all know it takes him 2-3 years to prepare for Triple G. Then
18 months.
Oh, that's right, just 18 months. That's a year and a half. So no, we don't have the time for that. But Daniel Jacobs, I'm sure, would love a rematch with Triple G, and the fans would want to see that too. The only significance behind the Billy Joe Saunders fight for Triple G would be it would give him a chance to collect all the belts. Let's make no mistake, Triple G was not thinking about hanging on for several more years. He wanted to beat Canelo and then walk away, or maybe beat Canelo and then go for Billy Joe Saunders. So I say forget Canelo and go for Billy Joe Saunders right now.
Canelo has no belt anyway.
No, he doesn't, and that's the joke of it.
That's the whole. You want to know? That's the joke right there.
I know, and what the joke of it is, he's got nothing except popularity. That's what makes him the A side, and now that he's tainted his image by testing positive, I say make him pay, and I don't mean just out of his pocket. I mean, if I'm Triple G and I'm Abel Sanchez and I'm Tim Loeffler, I say, or Tom Loeffler, I'm sorry, I say forget the fight, move on. Listen, I wanted to see the fight, but I think boxing's bigger than these two guys, and I think that if you really want the sport to be clean, make a big name, take the hit. And there's no name bigger right now than Canelo Alvarez. So, hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Manny Pacquiao announced his next fight. He's got an opponent, everything. Bob Arum says, nay. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. I'm here with my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And, hey, Sal, Manny Pacquiao announced his next fight. He says, I'm ready to fight, and it's all set. It's happening in Malaysia on June 24th. He told the press yesterday, he says, it's against Lucas Matisse. I'll be ready for this fight It's going to happen in 11 weeks. Then Bob Arum was asked, because he was doing a press conference for a fight that's taking place in California on Saturday night. And he says, no. He said, for years we've had all these proposals from people in the Mideast, whether it's Dubai or the Emirates or Saudi Arabia, and we're still waiting for the first deposit for the fight to happen. It didn't, so now we've shifted our attention from the Mideast to the Far East, and we're looking for Malaysian money. He said this laughing because he's been down this road many times. He also said that there was a group interested in bringing Pacquiao to Malaysia to fight, and was going to pay $15 million and give him $5 million up front. Pacquiao said, hey, if the money comes, then I have no problem with it. We would handle logistics and get this fight done, but you got to have the money to make it legit. Even Eric Gomez, the president of Golden Boy, who is the promoter for Matisse, said that Team Pacquiao told him that there was a possibility that Manny Pacquiao and Matisse would fight, but they haven't cut a deal. They have no contract signed or anything. According to Gomez, he says, Michael Kantz reached out to me, and all we did was talk. That's all I can say. We're interested in a fight, but it's in the preliminary stages. Manny Pacquiao had said that it is going to take place. He said, and one of the other issues Bob Arum was talking about, Sal, was that Manny Pacquiao is in a financial situation with the IRS here in the States, and that's why he doesn't want to fight in the U.S. But Pacquiao claims that that the fight would take place. He says, I will be promoting the fight. He says, I like Matisse. He's an aggressive fighter. That's what I want. I want to entertain fans. And Matisse's not a dirty fighter. I respect him for that. And this fight's going to happen. So who do you think we can believe in this? There's already been rumor that Manny Pacquiao and Freddie Roach have broken ties. It seems like Manny Pacquiao is totally unhappy with Top Rank and Bob Arum, specifically from the offer to fight on the undercard of a big fight. So it seems like the writing's on the wall. And what's your thoughts, man?
Well, I think you're right. The writing's on the wall across the board. I mean, I love Manny Pacquiao. He's been a warrior, and how much longer is he going to push the envelope? And for what reason? I mean, the guy was on top of the world. He was on the summit. He was already there, and it's not like he's climbing back. And you don't want him to be fodder for the young bucks coming up. So. I mean, the fight with Matisse is great, but the bottom line is how, what, and where, and why. What's going to come of it? Like I said, Manny Pacquiao, in my mind and in my eyes, and it's just my opinion, Bill, when he had the fervor and the fire in the belly to come back and fight Floyd Mayweather, that should have been his only goal. No sidesteps, no preliminary, nothing else. That should have been a deal signed, sealed, and delivered.
But that wasn't him. That was Floyd.
So, no, I know, but I think there was a way that he could have finagled and gotten in there to make that fight happen.
Yeah, you know what he had to do? He had to win. All he had to do was beat your boy Horn, right? And he lost. He lost. Right. Mayweather looks at that like, hey, if Pacquiao wins that fight, and people start saying Manny's still the guy, Floyd would take it because, like you said, Floyd feels confident he could beat Manny anytime, especially now that Manny's old and isn't the same guy he was 7 years ago. No. But then again, neither is Floyd, of course. But the truth of the matter is Manny lost. So Floyd's MO has always one of the parts of his success with his smokescreen is that he fights guys coming off of wins and this and that. They don't ever mention who and how they won, but no. The reason why that rematch didn't happen wasn't Pacquiao. Pacquiao wanted the rematch. It was Floyd, but still, in this.
But, I mean, that should have been Pacquiao's only fight. No, he should never have fought Jeff Horn. That fight. What I'm saying is, once he had the surgery, all the media, all the attention, all this should be, hey, I'm coming back for Floyd. I'm coming back for Floyd. No ifs, ands, and buts. No preliminary, nothing else. Just I'm coming back for Floyd. That would have been the press and the media and the fans might have leveraged it to be something that came to fruition.
Well, the thing is,
it's neither here or there.
Floyd never said he wanted to fight him again. But I think that if Manny could have come back and win and pick up another title like, when he won the title and then defended it against Jeff Horn, what he would have brought to the bargaining table for the possibility of a rematch with Mayweather was, hey, I lose to you, I come back, I win a title, I defend it against the mandatory and Jeff Horn, I win, now the only fight I want is Floyd, or I retire as a champion. But that's not what happened. He won the title, comes back, fights Jeff Horn, is thinking about Mayweather, and loses to Jeff Horn. Now everyone says he's washed up, he's finished, he couldn't even beat a Jeff Horn, etc., etc. Now how do you expect to maneuver a fight with Floyd when you didn't even beat Jeff Horn? So I think his goal right now really is all about, dollars and cents. And, I don't understand why he doesn't just walk away. Just like you, I don't understand why he doesn't do that. But maybe the first step is to break away from Bob Arum and Freddie Roach. Even though Freddie Roach, Manny Pacquiao didn't lose because of Freddie Roach. I mean, no.
But, all fingers will be pointing every different direction because it isn't what you want to look at and face in the mirror. When you look in the mirror, hey, guess what? You lost because you just couldn't perform at the level you thought you could. That's it.
Right, no, you're right. Well, Manny Pacquiao, if I'm Manny Pacquiao, I continue in politics, man. There's nothing left for him to do in boxing. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Be as it may, many Hall of Famers lost their last fight, so whatever. I do think that it would be smart for him to somehow break away from Top Rank. I had thought that their promotional deal was up. They may have renewed it, but I think I don't know. They may have renewed it, and Bob Arum still has his claws into Manny. But best thing Manny could do is stay out of the U.S. and see what he can come up with. But having Gomez from Golden Boy, an arch rival at Top Rank, reiterating what Bob Arum is saying that, hey, we don't have anything signed, sealed, and delivered, is kind of making Manny lose credibility. And Bob Arum is right. Many other countries in the Mideast had offered millions and millions of dollars for Manny Pacquiao to come and fight, but nobody ever wrote a check, Sal.
Well, and that's it. You hear about the fluff without the stuff. And let me ask you another thing, not to go backwards here a little bit, but so the U.S., the IRS, is after Manny Pacquiao for tax evasion or not paying taxes on fights or what? I mean, I'm not. Do you know any more about it?
No.
I don't want to assume.
No, I think that he does owe for some monies. There's residence. Where these fighters live, where their first and second residence is. Then when they fight in the States, they're subject to federal and state tax. So yeah, Manny Pacquiao is trying to get as much money as he can. Remember, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather with all his money. Now, I do think Floyd's going to piss it all away. But the one thing Floyd doesn't do is give it away. He spends it on stupid stuff, but he doesn't give it away. Manny Pacquiao is one of these guys that gives it away. Everybody in the Philippines comes with a sob story to Manny, and he gives them money.
Johnny Appleseed.
What's that?
Johnny Appleseed.
Well, he had apples, didn't he?
That's right. No, I mean Robin Hood, something like that.
Hey,
forget about it. I got
Robin Hood. There you go. I think that's a little better than Johnny Appleseed there, Sal. I think you got mozzarella on your mind. I don't know. But let's take a look. In any event, I think that Manny Pacquiao should really get his ducks in a row here. But we're going to take a break in a couple minutes. But let me start off by talking about the heavyweight division real quickly. I have the rankings, the most recent rankings from all four of the major sanctioning bodies, the IBF, the WBC, WBO, and WBA. And, everybody wants to see Deontay Wilder fight Anthony Joshua, all right?
Yes, you're right. That's it.
Now, here's the thing. Anthony Joshua right now is scheduled to fight Joseph Parker, who's also a champion. So, if Anthony Joshua gets by Joseph Parker, and that's a big if, but if he does, Anthony Joshua will be the heavyweight champion of every major sanctioning body except the WBC. Now, there's an asterisk next to that because the WBA, which is the worst sanctioning body, in my opinion, of all, actually has two champions. They have Anthony Joshua as their super champion, and then the household name of Manuel Charr is their regular champion. So at some point, the WBA is going to force the super champion, which could very well become Joseph Parker in a couple of weeks, to fight Manuel Charr. So that's going to become a mandatory. So when you take a look at possible opponents, you have to keep Manuel Charr in the discussion, at least for the WBA portion of the title. But when you look at everyone else, there's very few names when you look at the top 15 of each division that would be good opponents for either Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder. We're all talking about how great the heavyweight division is again, but when you really look at it, I'm wondering if it's true. Hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. I'm going to read all of the contenders in the 4 sanctioning bodies, and let's see if there's any other fights aside from Wilder against Joshua that would be of interest. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And I'm here with my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And we got a bunch of emails to read, Sal. But first, I just wanted to go over the heavyweight picture right now.
Yeah.
The IBF has Anthony Joshua as their champ. They don't have a number 1 ranked fighter, but number 2 is Kubrat Pulev. Number 3 is Jarrell Miller. Number 4 is Dillian White. Number 5 is Alexander Povetkin. Number 6 is Dominic Breazeale. Number 7 is Carlos Takam. Number 8 is Alexander Dimitrenko. Number 9 is Charles Martin. Number 10 is Agit Gabel. Number 11 is Christian Hammer. Number 12 is Otto Wallen. Number 13 is Johan Duhaupas. Number 14 is Tom Schwartz. And number 15 is Adam Kaunacki. The WBO, their champion is Joseph Parker. Number 1 is Alexander Povetkin. Number 2, Breazeale. Number 3, Miller. Number 4, Dillian White. Number 5, Tom Schwartz. Number 6, Kairo Tararo Fujimoto. Number 7, Zili Zhang. Number 8, Bryant Jennings. Number 9, Ajit Cabell. Number 10, Christian Hammer. Number 11, Jean-Pierre Augustin. Number 12 is Huey Fury. Number 13, Amir Mansour. Number 14 is LaRon Mitchell. And number 15 is Ebenezer Teddy. In the WBA, Anthony Joshua is their super champion. Manuel Charr is their regular old champion, who, by the way, isn't in anyone else's rankings, of course. But WBA, Alexander Povetkin, number 1. Frez Oquendo, who hasn't fought in 3 years, he's number 2. Jarrell Miller is number 3. Kubrat Pulev, number 4. Trevor Bryan, he's number 5. Haven't seen him fight in a while. BJ Flores, he's number 6. This is why the WBA has no credibility, in my opinion. Just look at their top 15. Number 7 is Duhaupas. Number 8, Christian Hammer. Number 9, Dillian White. Number 10, Alexander Ustinov. Number 11, Guillermo Jones. When was the last time he fought? Otto Whalen's 12. Bryant Jennings, 13. Lucas Brown, number 14. And Kataro Fujimoto is number 15. And finally, in the WBC, Dillian White's number 1, Breazeale number 2, Luis Ortiz number 3, Povetkin number 4, Pulev number 5, Tony Bellew, who, I mean, come on, well, he beat in the heavyweight division was David Haye. He's number 6, Duhaupas number 7, Charles Martin number 8, Kaunacki number 9, Ajit Cabell number 10, Oscar Rivas, good young fighter, he's number 11, Carlos Takam number 12, Lucas Brown number 13, Chisora 14, Stavern is 15. Really? How he stays in the rankings, I don't know. But when you shake it all down, the only guy, first of all, Anthony Joshua, no matter who he fights, the only guy I want to see him fight is Deontay Wilder. Assuming that he gets stuck fighting Charr or some other, bogus, mandatory. Deontay Wilder, it comes up with, okay, who should Deontay Wilder fight? Well, if Dillian White gets past Lucas Brown, I'd like to see him fight him. I'd also like to see Wilder fight Breazeale, but I'm not opposed to a rematch with Luis Ortiz. Team Ortiz was asking for a rematch. Would you want to see a rematch between Wilder and Ortiz, Sal?
Yeah, I would see a rematch. I would see that rematch. Yeah, why not? I've seen lesser matches. I think a rematch would be. I think it would end in the same result, but I think it would. I think it would be an entertaining fight, have some drama to it. But no, the only fight I really want to see, Bill, the only fight I want to see in the heavyweight division, for me, or the only fight I want to see Deontay Wilder have, is going to be Anthony Joshua. That's it, man. That's it. That is all. It's time to put up or shut up and make it happen. There's no more sidesteps, no more dancing around, no more other opponents, no more of this. Let Anthony Joshua get through this get by Parker if he can, because that's not an easy fight. And then let's let these two guys, where all eyes are on, get in the ring and dance together. That's it.
I agree. All right, let's get some emails out of the way. We got Dax Kahn coming up here at 9 to give us his predictions. I haven't even started to break down the fights, but let's get going here. We're behind. This is the return of the other Alex. He says, hey, Billy C., what's up? I don't think I've written in months, may even be a year, but I listen to your show every day. I never miss. He says, so much of what's going on in boxing world these days seems like TMZ drama. And that honestly I don't want to participate in those conversations. I only want to talk about the fights. And recently the fights have been good, so I want to chime in. I was the guy who said everyone was in on the joke except for Deontay. But he showed me a lot the other night, and I respect the man for it. Was he protected coming up? Yes. Was his opponent's hand picked? Yes. But look, man, they had to throw him in deep, and eventually I thought he performed. They had to throw him in deep eventually, and I thought he performed exceptionally well. I was thinking of two guys when I was watching him, Rocky Marciano and Jack Dempsey. Like Marciano, Wilder does just about everything wrong from a technical point of view. He's out of position, he's off balance, he's clumsy, but when he connects, it's game over. I thought of Dempsey when Wilder was swinging those wild shots trying to get Ortiz out of there. Dempsey fought a composed, aggressive style, but as soon as he landed a hard punch, all that went out the window, and he would wing shots from every angle while literally throwing his own body forward into the punches. Never mind planting your back foot, twisting your hips and shoulders while extending the punch for full leverage. Nah, we're talking about straight-up haymakers, and in that respect, Deontay reminds me of Dempsey. You touched on something yesterday, and I agree. At this point, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Maybe Wilder can tighten up this or that, but what he's going to do now is working. What he's doing now is working. I don't think we're going to see any technical improvements. The things Deontay has going for him are the things that can't be taught. One is God-given punching power, and the other is this guy has balls. He's got the living crap knocked out of him in that 7th round, and the way he came back would have made Gotti and Saad Muhammad proud. And that power. It's there every round. He could touch you as hard in the late rounds as he can the early rounds, and that's rare. I also want to briefly touch on Tyson Fury because I want to keep seeing his name. Did people forget that his fight against Klitschko absolutely sucked, and that both he and Vlad did almost next to nothing in that fight? Vlad did just a little less, and then Fury won that fight because of it. I never heard Vlad make any excuses, but I'll make one for him. Vlad's girlfriend and the mother of his child checked herself into a treatment center for postpartum depression a couple of months prior to the fight. There was no way in hell that Vlad could have been 100% focused on the fight with Fury, with all that was going on in his life outside the ring. He fought that night like his mind was somewhere else. My point is that I see these articles that read like Tyson Fury's win was one of the greatest performances in British boxing history, and I disagree. It was an awful fight where one guy barely did enough to win. Don't get me wrong, he's a very good fighter, but let's cool the jets on where he ranks among today's heavyweights. This isn't exactly Ali leaving the sport in his prime after dominating the division to make a comeback. Tyson needs to get in line like everybody else. I agree with everything Alex says here, especially about Tyson Fury. And like him, I give Deontay Wilder all the credit in the world for displaying the heart and obviously the punching power. And there's no doubt in my mind.
Conditioning, too.
Well, of course. There's no doubt in my mind that Deontay Wilder was hand-fed cupcakes for 39 fights. I mean, let's be real. This guy had not fought a real opponent until he fought Luis Ortiz, and he won. So it is what it is. Thanks for the email, Alex, the other Alex, and we're glad to have you back. Next one is from Johnston. He says, hey, guys, I don't want to even say another word about Wilder, but I'm seeing everything at the moment is that AJ can't avoid Wilder anymore. Wilder will dominate Joshua, Wilder this and Wilder that, and to honest, I'm sick over it. Let's look at the facts. Wilder turned pro in 2008. AJ turned pro in 2013. That's a 5-year head start. Coach in the chat room has said this a number of times, and he's right. Wilder won the WBC title in 2005 when he was 32-0. That's 7 years after turning pro. AJ won his first title in 2016 when he was 15-0, 3 years after turning pro. Wilder has been a champion for 3 years and hasn't fought one unification fight. In those 3 years, he should be in AJ's position, but he isn't. And why is that? Because he wasn't interested in fighting guys with any kind of a pedigree. Wilder was fighting Marlon Hayes when he was 20-0. I'm sorry, but who is Marlon Hayes? Actually, Marlon Hayes was trained by Kevin Rooney. He was supposed to be the next Mike Tyson, by the way. But anyway, he says AJ's already a unified champion and is fighting Parker for another world title at 20-0. How can a guy be 40-0 and have not fought one unification bout? If that was AJ, he would have been ridiculed by the British public, but yet Wilder gets all these accolades for fighting a 50-year-old Cuban that has never fought anyone credible himself. At the end of the day, AJ is fighting a proper opponent in Parker, and it wouldn't surprise if AJ loses because he is always testing himself. If that happens, then there will be a rematch with Parker in the summer. If he wins, then he will have a mandatory defense against Povetkin or Price, most probably Pulov. Or he means Povetkin, I think. A clear indication of that is they are on the undercard. Then at the end of this year, don't be surprised if Dillian White, or I hate to say it, but even David Hay, this is not because they're avoiding Wilder. It's because why should AJ have to keep fighting big fight after big fight every time while Wilder waits for AJ to come to him and put all his titles on the line? Over here, a rematch with White or a fight with David Hay are both considered dangerous and will sell, like it or not. I think in 2019 we'll see Fury first, then maybe Wilder, because it's his fault that he's been fighting bums for 10 years. I mean, 10 years and he's got nothing until now. Just my 2 pennies worth, but I have to question some of people's judgment. It is what it is. I understand where he's coming from, Sal. That AJ has taken more risk, and he certainly has, and that's why AJ's the A side. That's why AJ's in the driver's seat. But you could sugarcoat it and twist it and turn it and do whatever you want. But the facts are the facts. You said it 5 minutes ago. The only fight that you want to see, the only fight that I want to see, the only fight that any boxing fan, whether they're a diehard or a marginal fan, wants to see is AJ, assuming it gets past Parker, fight Deontay Wilder. What do you think?
That's the only fight I want to see in the heavyweight division, period. But for a championship title bout, yeah. I mean, those are the 2 big giants in the ring today. That's where all eyes are on, in my opinion. And you know what? When you want to look at the scenario, that's the only fight that makes sense. And as you often say, this fight, the aftermath, will breed other great fights. And you'll have a lot. I like the round robin effect, even with the idea that, all right, if Joseph Parker should lose to Anthony Joshua, he should fight Carlos. He should fight Ortiz and see how that goes. And then the winner of that gets the winner of Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. I think it's a great little scenario for next year in the sport of boxing.
We got another email. This one's from Jesse. He says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, my picks this weekend, Regis Progress stopping Indongo over 10. Ivan Baranicek, split decision over Petrov. Mikey Garcia knocking out Lipinets in 8. Rancis Barthelemy, split decision over Rekla. Alejandro Luna over Comney in an exciting bout. Valdez, split decision over Quigg in an exciting bout. And a battle of prospects, Andy Draw with De Leon. Billy, what's your thoughts on Junior Fay? He was in the World Series of Boxing and battled Usyk and Joe Joyce. And what's your thoughts on 6'9" Ivan Dainchiko? I'm not too up on Ivan, so I'll pass that. As far as Junior Fay, we'll see. He fights this weekend. The rest of your picks, good luck with those. They all seem pretty solid. Johnston says, hey, guys, my predictions real quick. Scott Quigg will, let's see, Quigg versus the challenger. He breaks him down here. Sort of the fighter. I'm going for an epic battle. Quigg to win by late KO over Oscar Valdez. As far as Garcia Lipitz, Garcia will become a 4-weight division, then move up to 147. If you want to see Johnston's full breakdowns and predictions, he's got an article up on BillyCBoxing.com, so check that out. All right, as far as fights and predictions, Friday night, we got the main event, Regis Progress against Julius Indongo. Regis Progress, Sal's new best fighter, man. He loves what he said the other day, and I did too. He's undefeated. He's 29 years old. He's undefeated at 20-0 with 17 knockouts. He's a southpaw, 5'8". he comes to fight. He's got an 85% knockout ratio in his 70 fights. He's ranked at junior welterweight number 26 in the world. Now, this fight is for the WBC's interim junior welterweight title. It makes me laugh. All these sanctioning bodies said they were doing away with interim belts, but yet if somebody's willing to write the check, it becomes an interim belt, no problem. He's got some decent wins over known fighters. Abel Ramos, he stopped him. He also beat, in his last fight, Joel Diaz Jr., which was another undefeated fighter, blew him away up at the Turning Stone. I was at that fight, and he's a decent fighter. He's an aggressive fighter. Now, he steps in there. Now, he's 29 years old. He steps in there with a guy who, on paper, says he's 35, and Julius Indongo. He's ranked number 3 in the world at junior welterweight. A big contrast to Regis Prograis. Indongo is also a southpaw, and he's got the height advantage. If you remember Indongo, he's the guy who fought Terrence Crawford. Indongo is 5'10.5", so he's got a 2.5-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage on Prograis. His record is 22-1 with 11 knockouts. He's got more rounds under his belt, 128, less knockout ratio at 48%. His only loss was a stoppage, and that came at the hands of Terrence Crawford. He did beat a Ricky Burns last year. He's got a couple of decent fights under his belt, but he's a confusing fighter to fight because of his height. He hangs around. This is a tough fight to pick, to be honest with you, Sal. Normally I would never take an Indongo. I would never pick Regis Prograis over Indongo based on the computer ranking, because the computer rankings generally are pretty accurate when it comes to picking fights. But I think in this case, the age difference here, even though it's only a 6-year difference, I think Indongo could be a little older than he says. And I think that his last fight against Terrence Crawford may have taken a lot out of this guy. I'm picking Regis Prograis to jump all over Indongo and win by stoppage. I think if he doesn't fight that way, Indongo is going to win a decision. But my official pick is Regis Prograis. And I'm kind of picking that for you, Sal. What's your thoughts?
I share the same sentiments there, Bill. I like, it's one thing for a fighter to spew and say some things and rhetoric and all that, but there's another case when he does justify and show what he means, and that's what we often look for when somebody says something. And as you suggested, I did become a fan. I liked what Regis has been spewing and saying, and let's see if the magic is in his corner that night, this night. And he's the one that said, now that we're getting past the Floyd Mayweather era in boxing, I want to help return the savagery into the sport of boxing. Now that's a big statement, and he likes to associate or emulate, I think, a Roberto Duran style of fighting. And we know Roberto Duran, he was relentless and unyielding, and just constantly in the middle or in the ring, pushing and punching that for a victory. And I like that style, and I think this weekend is not going to show us much less than what we can predict. I think that Regis will definitely take the fight serious to Indongo. I think Indongo is going to utilize any boxing skill he wants to try to offset and avoid the punches and the big blows. But in the end, I think the aggressive nature of Regis and cutting off the ring, I think some of those punches and the big banging will catch up with the Indongo, and I predict Regis to stop him by the 8th round. I'm out of time. These other fights, because we got Dax coming on, and I want to break down the Mikey Garcia fight. But Peter Petrov is fighting Ivan Baranchyk also tonight. This is a pretty evenly matched fight. Baranchyk is ranked number 38 in the world by the computer at junior welterweight, and Petrov is ranked number 21. Petrov is 34, and Baranchyk's 25. It's a 50-50 fight. I think Petrov has fought the tougher guys, but
you know what? Father Time never has lost. I'll go with the kid in this one, Baranchek. Another good fight I want to look at real quickly is Scott Quigg going up against Oscar Valdez. This is another interesting fight because Scott Quigg, former world champion, he's ranked number 6 at featherweight. And Oscar Valdez, who is currently the WBO World Featherweight Champion, he's ranked at number 7. So this is a pretty evenly matched fight. I love Scott Quigg, but I think Valdez is going to be too much for him in terms of the way he just attacks. Now, the thing about Scott Quigg is he's going to have a 3-inch height advantage. So I'm looking for Valdez in that one. All right, some other fights on that card real quick. Junior Fay, heavyweight, is fighting Craig Lewis. My man Matt Remillard is fighting Jesus Valdez. And Trey Lippy Morrison is back. He's taking on Oswaldo Ortega all on tonight. Now, the fight that I'm going to break down one more extensively, really, is the main fight of the weekend, at least the way I see it. Sergey Lipinets against Mikey Garcia. Lipinets is the IBF World Junior Welterweight Champion. He's 28 years old. He's ranked at number 12 at Junior Welterweight. He's 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. He's 13-0 with 10 knockouts. You heard it right, 13 fights. 77% knockout ratio at 28 years old. When I look at this guy's resume, I really don't see any names that jump out at you. The two guys I give him a lot of credit for beating is Leonardo Zapavinga back in 2016, and Clarence Booth was a tough guy. He stopped him last year in March. He also fought a tough ring veteran in Cosmo Rivera back in 2015. But really, he hasn't fought that much. Now, he steps in with a guy who has. The funny thing about this is that Sergey Lipinets is ranked number 12 in the world at super lightweight, which is junior welterweight, and he's a current champion. Mikey Garcia has not. I don't even think he's fought at that weight yet. He might. His last fight against Adrian Broner may have been at junior lightweight, but he was a lightweight world champion in January of last year. He's already ranked at number 2 in the world at junior welterweight. He's a former featherweight and junior lightweight champion and a lightweight champ. He's 5'6". Listen, he's 37-0 with 30 knockouts. I don't like that he took this fight when there was some other bigger fights for him. But you know what? This is another belt for him. He's going to win this fight. I have Mikey Garcia winning by stoppage. I just don't think Lipinets has the boxing ability to handle a pound-for-pound fighter in Mikey Garcia. What's your thoughts?
I agree with you 100%. I think Mikey Garcia is going to be too much firepower, too aggressive. And I think Lipinets, even though he showed us some great display of boxing and things in the past, I think Mikey Garcia has the eye of the tiger. I think he wants to make a statement tonight. You know, he is moving up, and he's been in several divisions now. And this is one that he's going to be wanting to really make a home and settle in. So I think that he's going to go in there and make a big statement tonight. And I think, or this weekend, I think he's going to stop Lipinets also, probably towards the later round, 7th, 8th round.
You know, Mikey Garcia is the style of fighter that I absolutely love.
I like it. Me too.
I mean, you know, the thing with him, I mean, his fight against Adrian Broner, and that was at junior welterweight. You know, he destroyed Broner. I mean, he prevented Broner from doing anything. Now, Broner went the distance, but he prevented Broner from doing anything. When Broner started an attack, Garcia came back and attacked back and seemed to win all the rounds, or at least most of them, in my opinion. He's just that kind of a fighter. I'm
He's a special fighter.
Yeah,
good.
It's a great descriptor because he is a special fighter. I was critical of him choosing this fight, but you know he's also doing it to get the title. Lipinets is the easiest route for him. Not that Lipinets is an easy fighter, but for Mikey Garcia, Mikey Garcia is a different class of fighter, and I just I see him picking up this belt, and then I see him leaving it, letting it go, and moving up another division, most likely for the big fights he could get up at welterweight. My only concern, Sal, is that his continuing to move up in weight And I think it was evident, even in this weight class at junior welterweight, that he doesn't possess the knockout power anymore. I mean, just because he's got the frame, of a guy who can move up and fill out, that doesn't mean, you still take that knockout punch with you. And I think that at some point, it's going to hurt him. And I say the same thing about Vasily Lomachenko. They keep asking him to move up.
Me too, I've said it.
Yeah, I mean, there comes a time when you got to say enough is enough and stay at a weight class, don't you think?
Absolutely. Just like Clint Eastwood said, a man's got to know his limitations. I mean, these guys keep pushing the envelope, and they want the bigger money, they want the bigger fights, they want this and that, and they keep moving up. And, Manny Pacquiao had a lot of success. I mean, here's a guy who was a flyweight, and how many weight classes he jumped? He's been fighting as high as welterweight, junior, middle. I mean, the guy, I think he overbit he overchomped on the bit. But it showed last time with Jeff Horn. But I think that I'd like to see Mikey Garcia. I like him as a junior welterweight. I think it's a good weight class for him. I think he still will carry that punching power. Welterweight's going to be another thing, man. I'll tell you, welterweight is a whole nother division because you have natural size welterweights, but you also have legitimate middleweights that come down to welterweight division, and man, they possess the power and the finesse, and it's going to be a tough division. But if he wants to try and reign there, let's see what happens. I like him at the junior welterweight level.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Dax Kahn joins us, and we'll get his thoughts and predictions on some of the big fights for this weekend. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free. Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you! I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking about being with us, joining us right now with his thoughts on the big fights for this weekend is my man Dax Kahn. What's up, Dax?
Hey, Sal. Bill.
Good morning, Dax.
How you guys doing? Well, it doesn't surprise me. Dax emails me this morning, Sal, and says, "There's an imposter in the chat room. He's going by your name. He's got your picture." I'm like, "What?" And then he sends it to me. I go, "It is me. What are you talking about?" That's what I like. I like that Dax is policing. Even I can't get on my own ID without Dax calling me up, questioning it. But good stuff.
I don't know. I'm looking at the thing. It's following in there about I love Floyd and all kinds of stuff in there.
Yeah.
I stepped away to get a refill of coffee, and I had a bite of toast. I'm coming back here, and I'm chomping away, and all of a sudden, I didn't realize, I didn't see the screen in front of me. And all of a sudden, I hear from Dax, "Hey, Sal, is that you? Are you out there?" I go, "Oh, wow, yeah, let me turn you on."
Yeah, he screams up and goes, "Hey, Bill."
I said, "Hey, Bill." I said, "Hello, Dax." "Hey, Jeff. Where's Jeff?" "Hey."
Well, Dax, we got some decent fights this weekend. I'll just go down in an order. Regis Progress against Julius Ndongo. Interesting fight. It's not an easy fight by any means. How do you see it going?
It is interesting, and this whole weekend is just a super lightweight, junior welterweight weekend. These are the type of things, Bill, that shows exactly what an impact a certain fighter had. When you have everybody scattering or clamoring, to win these belts left behind by Crawford. It tells you what a dominant champion he was. But this is a very interesting fight, in my opinion. Prograis. He's won his last 5 fights by stoppage. He's had 2 or 3 inside there. Joel Diaz Jr. last summer and on the Hall of Fame weekend, he goes out there and, dominates Joel Diaz Jr. when he was the underdog. In 2015, the same thing with Abel Ramos, who was an undefeated prospect. He goes out there, he beats up Ramos, and he stops him in the 8th round. Then on the other side, you have Ndongo, which most people, the only thing they know Ndongo for is getting stopped by Terrence Crawford in 3 rounds. But Ndongo, he has some key wins. You mentioned one before against Edward Troyanovsky, and that was in December of 2016. He's the B-side. He goes over to Russia, and he blasts out Troyanovsky in 1 round. He wins the IBF 140-pound title. And then in 2017, he goes over to Scotland. Again, a visiting fighter, the B-side, and he goes and he claims the 140-pound title off of Ricky Burns. He loses those titles a few months later to Terrence Crawford in that 3rd round stoppage. But you know something? He's a solid fighter, and he's a guy that, because he's shown to be very durable on the road, makes you sit there and question, exactly how good is he really when it comes into the trenches. Losing to Terrence Crawford and losing to somebody else is a different story. Prograis, he's in his past 8 fights, he's only gone the distance once, and that was a 8-round decision over Amos Coward. In his next fight, he had a TKO stoppage against Ramos, which I mentioned. Since then, in 2 years, the longest he's gone is 4 rounds, and that's when he stopped Luis Eduardo Flores. If Prograis, in my opinion, does not get Ndongo out of there by the 5th round, I think the more experienced, the better, the more traveled, who's also faced the best competition, meaning Ndongo, I think Ndongo is going to take him late, and he's going to drown Prograis.
So you're taking Ndongo?
It's either Prograis early or Ndongo is going to drown them late. That's how it's going to go. There's no in between in this fight, in my opinion.
Ivan Baranchyk against Peter Petrov. It's another interesting fight. How do you like that one?
Baranchyk, he's the guy that he doesn't really fit this mold of the fighters in that Eastern European area. These guys who have become known to be destroyers. Baranchyk is more of a boxer. He has wins over Keenan Smith when Smith was an undefeated fighter, but it's a name that nobody knows. He's been really kind of shoved, down to, he's been promoted more or less. People, he's being told about who he is on these broadcasts instead of actually going out there making a name for himself. And Petrov, there's a guy that a lot of people only know him from the 2014 Boxino. But he's going the distance with Terry Flanagan last April in a WBO lightweight opportunity. He lost to Dejan Zalkenikin for WBC international title in 2013. Both of those guys were undefeated champions at the time. Petrov, he has wins over guys like Chris Rudd and Fernando Croncamo. His only stoppage loss is actually came at the hands of Marcos Maidana in 2011 when he fought for the WBA 140-pound title. And being knocked out by Marcos Maidana, especially a 140-pound version of Marcos Maidana, is nothing to hang your head over. It doesn't say anything about the quality of a fighter you are. But yet Petrov always seems to lose those step-up bouts when he goes in against prospects like Baranchek. For that reason, I think Baranchek is going to win by a decision. But, if the right version of Petrov comes along, it could just be the opposite way around, but it's going to go a full 10 rounds, in my opinion.
An interesting fight is Oscar Valdez against Scott Quigg. How do you see this one going?
Valdez, his key wins is Genesis Cervania, Yevgeny Gradovic, who's a former IBF champion, and Miguel Mariaga, who's a constant top 10 ranked fighter. His only losses came to Nicholas Walters by decision when Nicholas Walters was going out blasting everybody out, and then, he lost that stoppage to Vasyl Lomachenko in this era where everybody seems to be quitting against Lomachenko. Scott Quigg, he's a former WBA super bantamweight champion. He has wins over fellow champions like Kiko Martinez. He has wins over high-quality guys like Rendell Monroe, Tishrabi Manuela, a former IBO superweight champion. But my prediction here is Oscar Valdez. He's a bigger and stronger fighter, despite Quigg having only one split decision loss, and that was to Carl Frampton, a guy who many still consider one of the top 10 to 15 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. He's not going to have the work rate, and he also demonstrated that in the Frampton fight, to keep somebody like Valdez off of him, because Valdez, is the bigger fighter naturally. Quigg lacks that super featherweight power, and for that reason, I think Valdez is going to win this one via stoppage in the mid-rounds.
And finally, the big fight that I think is a big fight of the weekend, Sergey Lipinets puts his title on the line against Mikey Garcia at 140 pounds. How do you see this one going?
Well, the other key fight on that card, Bill, also was the Barthélemy and Kirill Relic fight.
Right. No, I know. I have it here. I didn't give my prediction on that, but and you could give us yours. But tell me about Garcia Lipinets first. For Garcia, and everybody knows the story of Mikey Garcia. He's a multi-division world champion. He's got titles at I think super featherweight, lightweight. Now he's going for one in the welterweight division. Mikey Garcia, he had that loss for almost 2 years. He comes back. He beat Dejan in 3 rounds. But, before then, he goes in there and he has a fight against the guy that, Ilya Rojas, who at junior welterweight rather. But, Rojas was coming in off a 2-year layoff himself. And, he jumped 10 pounds in weight to get into this fight, that fight against Mikey Garcia. Sergey Lipinets, not many people are giving this guy much of a chance. Most people really, you stated before, he doesn't have a lot of fights. The average fan, is really basing everything on this guy off of his Akihiro Kondo fight, which he won that title in November. Kondo was a very tough fighter. Again, he's a guy not really known. But, Lipinets does have wins over Haskell Rhodes, which he went 10 rounds. Haskell Rhodes was an undefeated prospect then. Lipinets won a comfortable decision. You mentioned Leonardo Zapavinha, who's not a world-class boxer, but Leonardo, much like is like a mini David Lemieux. If I was going to give a comparison, he's a guy that comes in there, he goes in the trenches, and he just keeps throwing punches, and he has more than respectable power. And Lipinets scored an 8th round stoppage on him. So because of the Adrian Broner fight, I disagree with what you said earlier. Adrian Broner, that was not an easy win for Mikey Garcia, just as the Ilya Rojas fight was not an easy win for Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia beat Broner due to work rate, and Broner showed to be vulnerable to that in the past. Paulie Malignaggi showed him to be vulnerable with that. Paulie Malignaggi, another guy, if he had more power, he might stop Adrian Broner. But Mikey Garcia didn't dent Broner, even despite the fact he landed on Broner so many times. And because of that, I really don't think that Mikey Garcia is going to get much done in this fight. He's going to look good, but
because, of that fight, again, I keep going back to that Rojas fight, a guy who had 2 years off. He took a 10-pound jump in weight, and Garcia took 8 rounds to stop him. Lipinets is a career junior welterweight. He's taking punches from guys that are career junior welterweights. I don't see Mikey Garcia stopping him, and because Lipinets is steady down the stretch, he remains at a composed pace. He's able to go in there and concentrate and focus and do what he's got to do. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to go against the grain. I think Sergey Lipinets actually defeats Mikey Garcia in this fight.
Wow. And for the Rancis Barthélemy Kyrell Relika fight, how do you see that one going? My pick was Rancis Barthélemy.
Well, this is a rematch. They sometime last year they had fought in May of last year. Matter of fact, so Barthélemy won a unanimous decision. Both men went down in that fight. Barthélemy went down in the 5th. Relic went down in the 8th. Barthélemy is a former 2-division champion, a lightweight, super featherweight. He's a tall fighter, very tall, 5'11", and he's also a slick fighter. He has a lot of amateur experience. He's got wins over guys like Argenis Mendez, Antonio DeMarco, Dennis Shafikov, Mickey Bay, and Kyra Relic. Relic, the only name on there really that, is recognizable on his resume is Ricky Burns. And that was in 2016 when he lost the 12-round decision when he went in to try and gain the WBA 140-pound title. This is a case of a very tough fighter, meaning Relic, going against a world-class boxer who's tricky with a height and arm reach advantage. He knows how to use those veteran tactics. Rancis Barthélemy, in a few fights, he's lost points, and he's not shy to, hit low or hit behind the head to get that job done. So I think we're going to see very much like a repeat of the first fight, but, it's going to be a tough bout. It's going to be one worth watching, and Kirill Relic, because of the fact he's a solid puncher, and because Barthélemy is vulnerable early, he always could get the upset, but I doubt it. I think it's going to have some early fireworks, but I think Barthélemy is going to win another unanimous decision.
Hey, Dax, before we let you go, I want to get your take on this Canelo Alvarez testing positive stuff. Sal and I were talking this morning. Sal made a pretty strong statement saying that, really, and the only way that we're going to clean this sport up is if there's no tolerance, zero tolerance. Basically, you get caught once, you're done. You pay a fine, meaning, maybe you're suspended for a year or two. Could be career threatening if you cheat. I agree. I think that the repercussions have to be strong. And Canelo, just because he's a moneymaker, and there were all the rumors, although no one really proved it with Mayweather, same type of a thing. It's not fair that fighters that have, the money behind them or maybe the fanfare or whatever get special treatment, and that seems to be what's starting to take place with Canelo with this particular incident. What do you think is the situation, and what do you think should be done about it?
Well, one, I totally 100% agree. There should be no tolerance whatsoever. At minimum, there should be some sort of at least a 1-year suspension until even there's further testing going on. There should be suspension during this testing to see if a fighter's clean. We've seen that with lesser names. You brought up a very valid point there because of he's a name. Lucas Brown, a guy who was actually cleared the first time for his use. He never got the benefit of the doubt. He was never able to go back in there and get his title opportunity again. He was stripped of his belt. Why? Because he's not a name. Canelo, much like Floyd Mayweather, who was pretty much allowed to have an intravenous in his house, whether or not it may not have been performance-enhancing drugs, but, he was getting hydrated in his own house on video, and, nothing was ever done about that. If somebody else of a lesser name tried something like that, they'd have been banned for life. So that's a very key that's the thing that stresses me, that bothers me, is the name is what it allows these guys to get away with. We're sacrificing money for integrity. At some point in time, you have to say to yourself, integrity is more important. But with that being said, Canelo, this is the first time he's ever tested dirty. It was a very minimal amount. I think the right thing is being done, that, he's going to have these follow-up tests, this battery of tests. Let's see what happens with that, because this is an era where we are so quick to point at people and say, you're a cheater, you're a cheater, you're a cheater. Sometimes it seems like, it's a little bit more of a witch hunt than what's actually going on. It's a tricky situation, but my opinion in this is, let's see what happens with the battery test following up. The only thing that I can actually stress on, I agree on 100%, is the no tolerance. No matter who you are, no matter how much money you bring in, there should be no tolerance, period. And there should be no fights until your name is cleared, until all the testing's done. Now we're going to test while you fight.
We agree. Dax, enjoy the fights. We'll be looking forward to your thoughts on Monday, brother.
Yeah, hopefully I'm better. You hear my voice is going on. I caught something in this nor'easter and stuff like that. I told you I didn't want to shovel your walkway, but you're like, oh, Dax, my back.
I know. Dax, have a good one, my man.
All right, everybody, enjoy the weekend.
Dax, take care, pal.
Dax Kahn giving us his thoughts and letting the cat out of the bag. He wouldn't come up and shovel for me. Bastard. But anyway, I think that we all agree. I mean, this pointing fingers and he said, she said, and testing positive for performance enhancing drugs should not be tolerated. And I don't care who it is. And I think the best way to really get that message across is to have a big name like Canelo suffer some major consequences. I mean, I don't think there should be any ifs, ands, and buts about it. And the other interesting thing was my man Mitch and the statistics that he gave me based on the cyclist Alberto Contador, who tested positive with 50 picograms of clenbuterol and was banned from performing. And Canelo's test came back hundreds of picograms. So, come on, right?
Well, we said that. You want to take it one further. So there is no excuse as far as, this one trainer, this one, that one. Maybe the whole team should be suspended for a year and lose out on the possibility of earnings and things like that. Who knows? I mean, anything less than a ban for life or could be a year's suspension. I mean, look at what that'll do to a person's income and career and their stats and how they have to stay stagnant. I mean, their career could be jeopardized and over for all intents and purposes. And those people affiliated with that wouldn't be able to work other corners. So what I'm saying is it has to be grave. It has to be severe enough where it's going to be the deterrent that we want these punishments to actually provide for the sport of boxing or any other situation.
Right. No, I agree. You got to come down hard and heavy, and then it'll stop. Listen, on this day in boxing history, March 9th in 1955, Raul Mejia knocks out Chamorron Songkitrat in the 11th round to win the vacant WBA bantamweight title. It took place in San Francisco. That was the NBA. Took place in San Francisco, California. On this day in 1986, Donald Curry knocks out Eduardo Rodriguez in the second round to retain his WBA world welterweight title. That took place in Texas. Donald Curry's a guy I believe should be in the Hall of Fame. In 1985, on this day, Milton McCrory wins a 12-round decision over Pedro Villa to retain his WBC world middleweight title. It took place in France. On this day in 1984, my man Carlos De Leon wins a 12-round decision over Anthony Davis to retain his WBC cruiserweight title. It took place in Vegas. On this day in 1984, terrible Tim Witherspoon, who was terrible, wins a 12-round decision over Greg Page to win the vacant WBC World Heavyweight title. It took place in Vegas. I remember watching this fight, and I remember saying, we have just entered the land of the dinosaurs in heavyweights. This was one of the most boring, uneventful world heavyweight title fights I ever recall watching. And we all say, the heavyweights, back then, it was great, it was great. It wasn't all that great because Tim Witherspoon against Greg Page was a snooze fest. Tim Witherspoon did have talent, but getting him to do it was a whole nother ball game. But and speaking of Terrible Terry, on this day, March 9th in 1900, the original Terrible Terry McGovern, knocks out Oscar Gardner in the third round of a scheduled 25-round fight to retain his world featherweight title, and that took place in New York City on this day 118 years ago, March 9th in 1900. So that's what took place on this day in boxing history. Sal, we got a bunch of great fights to watch over the weekend. And I'll be looking forward to those as well as talking about them on Monday. So for everybody out there, make sure you enjoy the fights. Make sure you watch the fights first, then enjoy them. Then make sure you tune in on Monday morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.